DJ and PK, it's 97.5 The Zone. We are joined now by Tony Parks, Salt Lake Bees play-by-play broadcaster. Tony, good morning.
Good morning, man. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks for coming on. How is it being the voice of the Bees? I think you wanted this for a lot longer than any of us knew, and I knew for a while, and PK knew for a while, but it was still probably longer than that. So, how's it feeling now a few games in?
More than I could have ever dreamed of. I mean, really, it was great. Yesterday it was an Easter Sunday doubleheader, gorgeous day outside. You know, just had all the feels, the feels of the ballpark. And it was interesting starting on the road, especially being in Sacramento. That exact ballpark is a place I used to take my sister years ago when I would travel back and forth to stay connected to her when she was really little. So there was all kinds of emotions wrapped up into it personally, but in terms of the baseball stuff and all of that, more than I could have dreamed of. It was great. It had that opening night feel on Saturday after Friday's game was rained out. And then, like I said, yesterday, just that gorgeous afternoon. And it was the way it should feel. It was everything that I ever thought it would feel like. So 3 games in, it's been a ton of fun.
As you know, Tony, I don't think that there's anybody in the local media who did not want you to get that job. You and I had numerous discussions. As soon as Steve Klauke announced he wasn't coming back, all of us, literally all of us, and I think you know this, were pulling for you to get this job because this is something that you have worked for behind the mic, behind the scenes for many, many years. All of us are so happy. I even take a sense of pride knowing that you got this job because I always like to see people who work their butts off get rewarded, and that's exactly what happened for you. So it's a hearty congratulations, and we've already extended congratulations to you behind the scenes privately, and now we're doing it publicly because we're so happy. Is this something when you were like 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, because growing up you hear of these announcers, this is what they wanted to do. Do you fall into that category?
Yeah, I was very, very young. My mom and I, it was just her and I still get a little emotional thinking about this, but I still remember she'd be in between waitressing shifts. This is how I actually became a fan of my favorite team, just was around my mom's waitressing and bartending shifts, because she would have an earlier shift and a later shift. And we would spend the middle time together. And that middle time, there were a lot of day games with the Cubs on WGN. And it was right in that wheelhouse. And we would sit and we'd watch. And my mom, who just exhausted herself in the morning and then exhausted herself in the night, and she'd try to get some sleep in the middle of the day, but we sat and we talked, and that woman knows this game just so well and so deeply, and her teaching me the entire game. And it's interesting, too, because maybe had she been in a different environment, even a different era, there's a lot of variables in her life that I do think she would have been a person who would have been a great fit to work in professional baseball and to be around it. And so here she is with her son, and she taught me this game with Steve Stone, who was the real star of our living room. Everybody remembers Harry Carey, but it was really Steve Stone, his insight and analysis. And it was almost like she would say something and Steve would follow it up, and then it was like they were working together. It was so fun. And then Harry Carey's energy and all of that stuff was really, really cool. So from a very, very young age, I kind of had a connection to baseball. That was really a big passion for me. And then the other thing that started happening is I was able to impersonate broadcasters. I kind of had that gift at a very, very young age. And so that also led me to the excitement, the enthusiasm, and also the passion for broadcast. So to be able to mix, such an enormous passion of mine, my number one passion, which is family, and then immerse all of that into an immense passion of mine, baseball, and then immerse all of that into an immense passion of mine, which is then, broadcasting. To have them all just completely bound that tight. And then as to your point, PK, and yes, I felt so much love this weekend, and it was really something I had to step away a few times because the wonderful, kind messages from so many people and so many people that had been through this journey with me at different points, you guys included, obviously. It really felt good to see so many people who wanted to win for you and with you. And when all of that comes together and it leads to something like this, I mean, it was a beautiful, beautiful thing to happen this weekend, and I felt every ounce of that emotion, and I hope to carry all of that love and all of that emotion with me throughout all of my broadcasts in my time being with the Bees.
One of the things about minor league baseball is the rosters can change pretty quickly. There's always a new prospect around the corner. For people who are getting ready to go out to the ballpark, who is the next big thing, whether it's well known or not? Who might be in the show pretty quickly, and who should people keep their eyes on?
Well, I think there's a lot of guys that can, because this is a roster that is loaded with a lot of guys who have major league talent. Major league talent, but then also like postseason talent, World Series talent, championship experience, if you will, I should say, postseason experience and all of that. But we're not talking like he was technically on the roster and he got a ring because, he had this stint over here. No. We're talking about dudes who were playing in Game 7 of the World Series, guys who had postseason starts and huge wins behind the plate and things like that, and contributed to, huge success of teams during, critical eras. But a guy that I think is not known of as much, I would say, is Jordan Adams. He's a guy that was number one in the PCL last year in stolen bases and the franchise leader last season. He had a career year last year in so many different ways. And he came back and he took this offseason incredibly seriously. He's put on like 10 pounds of muscle. He looks great. Power looks better. And I think he's going to be a guy that continues to flourish. And I think a lot of guys on this team, like a Levon Soto, who started with the Bees last year, got the call up mid-May. He played 4 games, got a taste of it, but I think he's going to be a guy that continues to evolve and could be a household name someday. And then, there's guys you've heard of. Hunter Dozier is a guy that obviously has played in the bigs. Jake Marisnick, who is a long-time major league veteran, right? Chad Wallach obviously has played with the Halos a lot. A guy like Willie Calhoun had a great run there with the Yankees last year before being injured. What I'll say is this system with Ron Washington, I think, is really fit for a lot of people, whether it's guys who played in the major leagues and are looking to kind of have a back half of their career that was as productive as their front half, or guys who are trying to blossom and get to being household names at the major league level with regularity. So Ron Washington is really harping on the fundamentals. He's really harping on the little details, and it's showing with this Bees team. I thought it showed actually a lot this weekend, even though they came out of it with 1 win and 2 losses.
Listening to Steve Klauke do his thing for 3 decades, there's a certain rhythm. And I worked with him on the TV side. I did some occasionally, do some radio with him. But they got that rhythm, and you know how their style is. How would you describe your style, and how much would it be different?
Well, first of all, there will be no dad jokes and the dad puns and all that. Nobody had them quite like Steve Klauke, right? They just did not have them. I love to have a great conversational feel to it at moments of the game where you're especially in the middle of the game a lot of times and talking about different aspects of the game. Storytelling will be a huge part of my broadcast. One thing I really love to do is humanize the experience for the audience and for the players, and to make sure that, they understand these guys are much more than jersey numbers, names, stats, where they played, what their exit velo was, all of that stuff. And don't get me wrong, that's all nice, and that'll be a part of the broadcast too. But I really look forward to telling the story of the game. And I love that every single game is like this empty canvas, and I get a chance to go ahead and paint it, just Bob Ross every single day. And, we'll put a little bit of the clouds here, and we'll put a little bit of this there, and let every single game have a life of its own. And what I love more than anything, and Steve, I thought, perfected this, he always put everything else about the game in front of him. It was never about him. He made sure that was very clear. He was able to broadcast with emotion without getting emotional. I thought that was a great asset. And obviously his descriptive ability was tremendous. So Steve and I are very, very different stylistically. But the standard and some of the most important things, those are all the same between he and I.
Tony Parks joining us. He is the play-by-play broadcaster for the Salt Lake Bees, taking over from Steve Klauke. I'm curious how much time you get around the guys to really get to know them and know their stories, because you talk to anybody in the industry, that access is getting cut back everywhere, and you really have to know people before they really open up and tell you the most interesting stuff.
I think you hit that right on the head, DJ. I think that's actually a really difficult part of major pro sports now, but I really hope we can get back to it. I think that there is an interesting severance of trust that goes unspoken a little bit that I can feel, not with the team that I'm around, but I'm talking about when I talk to people in the industry and I hear them talking about, gosh, it's tough. I want to do this. I want to do that. It's tough to get access. I couldn't get this interview here. Couldn't even get a credential there. And it feels so restricted and it feels so controlled that it feels more challenging to get this. Well, I get a chance now, and it's been tough because you jump right into it. They end up in Salt Lake. You jump on the plane. You're off to Sacramento. You have games right away. So it will take some time, and I think it will organically happen because, being around them for, 150 or so days, that's going to, I think, be something that comes along. But I've already had some, great conversations already with guys. I like it because being at batting practice every day, being in the cage with them every day, there's just some natural interaction that you get where you feel comfortable in those conversations. You feel comfortable about sharing something with someone and knowing that they understand what's on and off the record. And I think they're going to feel that in that interaction with me. I think they're going to feel that I genuinely do care about them and care about their personal growth. I think it's my experience in life and the way you guys have rooted me on, and you've had a front row seat for some of it on what I've experienced. I think that, I'm not going to even have to share much with them. I'm just going to have a lot of empathy while listening to what they tell me about their journey and what they share with me. And so the ability to be able to bring that to the audience, the ability to let their family and friends hear that at home, I think that that's going to be a really special part of what we do with the broadcast. And so I'm very much invested in that. The organization is very much invested in that. The new addition to our team, Sammy Miller, she'll be covering the Final Four, and she does magnificent work. She's the new in-stadium host. She is incredibly invested in that. And so we're excited to bring that to life in the broadcast now going forward with this kind of new era, if you will, as we transition to a new ballpark, moving towards, trying to move to having a major league team. The excitement and the buzz around baseball is at a fever pitch, and for very, very good reason. But I think that will only add to some of that excitement.
I think about any given time, Tony, you've had about 10 different jobs that you were juggling, and a lot of people know you for the sports talk, but you've also done, you're always doing so many other things. How will all that stuff work as far as this? Because this is pretty all-consuming during the season.
Yeah, it really is. What I love about it now is this first year, I'm doing every single Bees game. And then, I'll still do some college football, still do some college basketball, and obviously stuff with the network, with ESPN. I had some Pac-12 network games set up with women's college softball, and those rained out. So I was the bad luck guy there for a bit. Rain out Tuesday, rain out Thursday, and then I rained out our Bees game to get started. So trust me, they blamed it on the rookie. They were very much on me about that, so it was pretty fun. But no, so still want to continue to do a lot of things play-by-play. A lot of the stuff that I had been doing over the course of the years, it was a number of different things, right? MCing, play-by-play, sideline reporting, production work. Just it was a myriad of different things as you're talking about. Now most of it's going to be centralized to play-by-play. The community outreach, now that my wife and I are back in Salt Lake full-time, and we'll still be back in Chicago, somewhat frequently, but overall, this is where we're going to be most of our time. And so the community outreach stuff will still all be intact. And I look forward to merge that in with what I do with baseball, which is when I think it's at its most beautiful. So, no, it's a great question. So obviously I'm going to have to narrow it down quite a bit. And especially with the newborn daughter, narrow it down even more. But we're excited for that. And we're excited for most of it to be play-by-play going forward.
So you're back in Salt Lake, because we were all wondering how to bridge that question with you and how you're going to juggle this. I'm glad you relocated. That's going to make it doable. It's like, and if Tony's not relocating, it's going to get pretty crazy pretty quickly.
There was a minute there where it was like, we all the way back in the fall went over every single situation, my wife and I. So we were ready for whatever the scenario was. It was during last season, I went back and forth to the Midwest. And then during this year, it would have flipped where she came back with baby like 10 days out of the month. We had it all laid out on exact details. I mean, down to the fact that my sister, who's the greatest ever, had baby showers in Orange County, here in Salt Lake, and Chicago to make sure that my wife had duplicate scenarios in Chicago, Salt Lake, and Orange County. So anytime she traveled, all she needed was pretty much baby carrier in the backpack. So, I mean, it was down to the finest details, and we have that down as well. And so we're all set. Yeah, we're good and we're ready to go.
Well, Tony, we appreciate a few minutes. Appreciate you talking bees. We always talked a little Major League Baseball when Steve was on as well. So if you got a shout out for one team or one player to watch, PK's all about Juan Soto. You know, that he's out of San Diego. He can start to produce again just to torture me. Another guy who went through San Diego, was great before, terrible. Well, not even terrible, but disappointing there. And now he's, off to the races again. So you got anybody we should watch, individual or team?
Well, first of all, don't look now, but those Pittsburgh Pirates, my guy, they are 4-0 and looking dang good here to start off this season. And you know what? Hey, I'll throw this out. How about Joe Connor with a nice start? There's a guy that we didn't know that we may have been talking about quite as much, but Joe Connor with a really nice start to the season. Okay, there you go. There's a guy. Right. I'll just throw out a rando. There's your guy, Joe Connor.
All right. Tony, we appreciate it as always. Good luck with the broadcast and the home opener coming up Tuesday night. And hopefully you won't rain out any more games with your bizarre meteorological powers.
Yeah, even the River Cats are like, thanks, dude. We do this on average once every 9 years. Way to go.
Thanks, Tony.
All right, guys. Thanks again. See ya.
All right. You can hear Tony Parks on the zone all summer long here with the Bees games. DJ and PK, it's 97.5 The Zone. Stay with us.
This is Jake Scott and Ben Anderson.
Covers the Cougs for KSLSports.com, the one and only Mitch Harper. What's the biggest thing going on at spring ball right now?
The big thing, honestly, continues to be the quarterback spot. I think that, Retzlaff and Bohannon, they're the top two guys, but I'd say Retzlaff's the favorite to win the job. I haven't come away feeling like Bohannon's shown consistently the arm strength that would suggest that he should probably be the number one guy. If BYU wants to have explosive plays through the air, they don't want to be a dink and dunk offense like they were last year. You got to have the arm strength to make that happen. Retzlaff's arm's a little bit better than what I've seen in the past, but still it's a work in progress with that group. And I think BYU needs to hope that they have an elite ground attack. And with the running backs and the offensive line, they should be improved in that area, but it's kind of a wait and see until what we see in the fall.
Hear Jake Scott and Ben Anderson every day from 10 to noon on 97.5 The KSL Sports Zone.
Nominate the youth sports volunteer that you know for the Hercules Hero of the Week. Submit your nomination at KSLSports.com/contest and then listen every Thursday afternoon to our guys JJ and Alex for the winner. Help us celebrate the efforts of those volunteers making an impact with the Hercules Hero of the Week. And it's sponsored by Hercules Credit Union.
DJ PK, it's 97.5 The Zone. ESPN posting a story in the last few minutes about how Utah Jazz GM Justin Zanik found himself fighting not just for his team but his life. That is the headline. The story goes on to detail the health conditions that his kids have had and that his wife has been really involved in as a co-founder and executive director of the Rare and Undiagnosed Network and Advocacy Group with a mission that advocates for everyone from hospital administrators to insurance providers to state legislatures for children like their own who live with unanswered questions and symptoms from autonomic neuropathy. And then the story goes into how Justin Zanik had not had a physical in about 8 years and has a history, a family history of kidney issues, and he is going to need a kidney transplant tomorrow. And so, and the condition, they've now tested the kids and found out the kids have it as well. So this is a family that has been through a lot health-wise, and there had been some rumors out there and speculation that his health wasn't good and something was going on. But Woj has the story at ESPN.com and has all the deals complete with quotes from Justin and his wife and head coach Will Hardy and the kids about what the family has been through. It is quite the read. I don't think I could really summarize it, but they've been through a lot, and they're going through a lot right now. I guess is the simplest, most to the point assessment of what's going on there. But huge news, obviously, and in this town, all things Jazz all the time, and certainly best wishes to Justin with his health.
Oh, he's one of the good guys, for sure. I haven't had a lot of interaction with him over the years, but I've had some. Always enjoyed talking with him. Upfront guy. Says gives you great answers, gives you detailed answers to your questions. Not that it matters relating to the health situation, but I'm just saying, in my limited interactions with him, always very much enjoyed talking to him. And then you see this is real life.
Yeah, big
you
time,
remember
right?
when Max Hall got in trouble with his addiction, and we had on Chad Lewis, and we asked him about it. And the first thing Chad says, well, this is life. This is what happens in real life. You know, we get caught up in these games and all these types of things. That's not really real life, these games, you know. They're fun and all that. And a lot of times that people have very serious issues that really have nothing to do with the games. And this is one that Justin Zanik obviously has, and his children has, and his wife has. And his wife, as you said, she's been involved in this situation with her advocacy for what she's been doing now for a bit here. And that's always a positive, to be trying to better people's lives and all that. And here, as you look through this, you think, oh, my gosh, this is about as serious as it gets. And I don't think there's anyone on the planet who wouldn't want Justin Zanik to be coming out of this in a better situation and be able to flourish as a human being. That's what it's about.
He was fortunate that he did find a match, and that can be a dicey thing. But he's got a match, so the surgery's coming up tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean, that's just incredible. Dr. David Petron is involved.
Yeah, he was in the story. We've known him a long time. We've had him on the show.
I've golfed with him.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a great dude. Works for the University of Utah, and he's helped me in a couple of situations, not so much with myself. In fact, zero with myself. I've been very fortunate in that regard. It's been with my wife. And the health struggles that she's had to go through, as you know. I'm speaking to you specifically. You do know that.
I do.
So, so he's been a great person for us in our lives, and we hope that nothing but the best. I mean, I don't know what else to say.
I know, yeah. I did think about that. Like, if I introduce it, it kind of has to be the whole segment, but you're getting into a whole bunch of medical stuff where you and I, people have listened to us for long enough. They know we have no medical expertise. And it kind of needs to carry the segment, but it's worth the read. I think it underscores something that I was pretty slow to learn in life, but now I know it all too well, is that you never know what people are going through. You deal with people in whatever phase you deal with them, right? A coworker, a vendor, a supplier, somebody you're selling to. It could be somebody, youth sports. We all go through a phase in our life where we get really involved in that. And you've told me about people at, youth sports, and for somebody going to a game and they see somebody acting out and they're like, what is the deal? And you're like, well, if only I could tell you, but it's not my business to tell you. There's stuff going on in people's lives. And, Justin's been carrying around a lot of stuff with his kids for a long time that many of us, maybe all of us even, I don't know how wide that information was. I didn't know anything about it until I read this story.
With his children?
Yeah, with his kids. He's been carrying that around for a long time, obviously.
Yes.
And that the story goes into that. And, it's serious what they go through. I mean, he's got a daughter who's in high school who needs to choose a college. And so lots of people have been through that. But she needs to choose a college that's in a warm weather area because of her medical condition and ability for the body to regulate its temperature. The kind of stuff that happens automatically for most of us that we never think about. But when it doesn't happen for you, it's a really, really big deal and important thing. And she needs to be adjacent to a major research hospital. So that really narrows things down, So it gives you a little idea. It doesn't tell you everything about what the family's going through, but it gives you a pretty good idea of the breadth of the health issues that the that the family has been dealing with for a long time. And Justin's been walking around that for a long time, actually one of the daughters gets into that, one of the kids gets into about how, compartmentalize. I can't do anything about that. It goes in a box over here, which you wish kids didn't have to deal with that stuff, but they do.
Yeah, the Jazz have released a statement. There's a statement from the Jazz, and there's a statement from this Zanik family, obviously expressing gratitude to a lot of different folks, Ryan and Ashley Smith, the entire Jazz family. And Justin, I'm reading the thing right now. Justin looks forward to getting back to work in the coming weeks and greatly appreciates the organization's continued support during this process. And they thank the community for the love and support. And certainly they will have that. There's just, as I've gone through some stuff, then you learn pretty much behind a closed door, somebody's got something. To what degree remains to be seen, and they keep it private. They go public with it. But pretty much everybody's got some type of burden that they're dealing with. And at times the burden is extremely heavy. At other times it's lighter and all that. And then, one of the things that I've learned is that we all have our routines. Whatever your routine is, that's what it is, to be simple about it. And when that routine gets broken and gets out of whack, it just feels different, and it doesn't feel right. I get up at a certain time every day, and I drive in, and I listen to the stations to come in, and then I come in with you, and we argue about stupid stuff, and we go at each other, and then the show's over, and we walk to the car, and we laugh and giggle about stupid stuff that, oh, wait, I thought those guys didn't really like each other. No, that's not the case at all. We're just arguing over meaningless stuff. And in this next segment, I want to get in your face again. Not right now. We'll wait till we come back from break, and I got something I'm just going to be all over you about. But that's all fun and games, man. This is stupid stuff. You're arguing about stuff that doesn't really matter. I've been saying it for 22 years on this show. These things are fun. Well, this thing is life. Literally, in this case, you can argue that this thing and make a statement. This is life and death. That's serious. When you're talking about life and death, that's extremely serious, I believe. I'm not sure it gets any more serious. And this is what the Zanik family has to deal with. This is what Chad Lewis was saying. This is life, man. And you got to go ahead and you got to meet it. And I'm sure the Zanik family will handle it with the utmost courage. And then, obviously, for them, he wants to get back to work because that's what he does. He's got his family over here, and he's got his work over there, and he meshes the two. We all do it. We all blend it together, and that's how we live our lives.
I guess if there's one thing in this story that all of us should take away, and is that it says here that I think Justin went 8 years between physicals. We shouldn't be doing that. And I'm not going to throw any stones because my glass house didn't have many physicals for a long time. Now I'm better about it, but there's a long stretch I wasn't. And I think everyone in the medical profession would say, yeah, don't do that. Go get your annual physical. And we're all busy, and nobody really likes going to the doctor, and there's always a reason not to. And goodness knows if you need an excuse, call me because I can help you out with one. But, pass on the excuses and actually go get the physical. You never know. I mean, in his case, it's kidneys, but, everybody's got something, and probably better if we all go get checked out.
I love going to my doctor.
I don't believe that.
No, this guy, I've told him.
Unless your doctor's Petron.
I haven't gone myself, but okay. I've been involved with Dr. Petron on several different issues. Yes, mm-hmm. I consider him a friend for sure. I've known him for a long, long time, upwards of 20, 30 years. But my doctor, man, he just gets in your face, and I love that. He just tells you. I asked him one thing. I'm a doctor. I'm supposed to know that. He said,
You pre-med on Friday night at Arizona State, quizzing your doctor, and he's just got to go right back. I'm a doc. I'm supposed to know it. Fool.
Yeah, the way he does. He gets in your face. He's not confrontational. And I told him, I said, I love coming to you because if I've got a question, you give me a direct answer.
Oh,
you
that
don't
is
beat
good.
around the bush.
Right, yeah.
You just get right to the point and tell you how it is. And, I've talked about this a little bit. This is another doctor. My wife had the cancer and had to go through all the stuff. And obviously, with the Huntsmans and the great work that they've done, extremely grateful because when we went with her, she was in complete and total denial. He told her, man, you can get as many opinions as you want, but if you don't get started in 3 weeks, you are in big trouble. And I looked at her and said, you're getting started because this guy said it. And as far as the hair falling out and everything that he said would happen happened almost to the minute which he said it would happen. Like he listed X amount of days when you'll start to see your hair fall out. And when it falls out, it'll just be like an onslaught of it. It'll all come out. And he almost said the exact time of day after the chemo and stuff. And I was just amazed at what he said. And for a woman, if she loses her hair, that was so eye-opening for me. I wouldn't have thought anything of it. Maybe I would have if it would have been me. Obviously, it wasn't me. But just the thought of losing hair, at least for my wife, it was so traumatic. And I've got a friend who's going through it right now, and it is very traumatic for her. And yet, I never even thought about it. And then now, you know what the funny thing is, DJ? We look at other people, and I'm not trying to be stupid here, but for a good long while, I looked at other people, particularly of the opposite sex. Oh, man, that woman's got beautiful hair. I was focused on hair because it got taken away, and I never even thought about it. And I was so grateful for the medical people over at the institution that we used for the cancer deal, and it's a Huntsman thing, and all the support that you had there. And we're going back over a decade now, and everything's great, and you couldn't be more grateful than what you are. But those folks who deal with that and how they just know their stuff, and my doctor, oh, yeah. We talk a little sports, and then he gets right to it, man. And I'm telling you, when I walk in that room, I am sitting up as straight as I can.
Well, best wishes, prayers up, good luck, everything, whatever you want to put on the list for Justin Zanik having the surgery tomorrow, and for the kids and all the things they're dealing with in the long run. Polycystic kidney disease. And he only had 14% use of his kidney left. And this is something his kids will look at going forward, too. They've already been diagnosed with it. So,
yeah, this is absolutely,
best wishes to all of them.
This is totally meaningless in the scope of things. But, man, I'm going to root for him even harder to make some great deals when he comes back. And the Jazz get into the postseason, and the Jazz are the last team standing. And Justin Zanik is right there. That would just be incredible. Now, I don't know, winning basketball games, that doesn't mean a whole lot compared to life and death. I understand that. But Zanik comes back. Could you imagine that story? How sweet that would be.
DJ and PK, remember, you got a chance to win big every week on The Zone. This week on Win Ticket Wednesday, win a pair of tickets to see Tim McGraw at the Delta Center on April 5th. Listen to The Zone all day for your chance to win. All right, I don't know why, but PK's going to be really mad at me and tell me I'm stupid next. Stay with us.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I present...
This is JJ and Alex.
Jay Stevens, the Utah Puck Report, is a podcast you can go listen to yourself.
The writing is on the wall. I mean, there's $1 billion just approved through legislation. I think the state sees it, the city sees it as an opportunity to kind of revitalize downtown Salt Lake City. So even the people that aren't hockey fans, they're on board. The NHL really seems to like Ryan Smith. So you just start putting all those pieces together, and it just looks like it's inevitable. And that's how I see it. I see, like, this is something that's happened. This train's coming. You should get on board and enjoy it, and then be able to say I was there from the beginning.
Catch JJ and Alex afternoons from 3 to 6. Presented by G2G Bars on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. And now, your Rocky Mountain Chevy dealer strong play of the weekend.
Heck of a catch in traffic by McMath. He's got a future as a wide receiver somewhere. He sends the ball well over midfield Chicho brings it down. Chicho lays it off to Diego Luna. Back to Chicho. The hat trick. 3-1 RSL. Chicho's holding up 3 fingers. This one should be over. First minute of stoppage time.
This is Chevy Strong Play of the Game. This afternoon, JJ and Alex will be giving away free stuff if you know the play when they call for it. Their show will start at 3 o'clock this afternoon. Question of the morning is up on Facebook. Looks like Lowry Markkanen's season is over after 55 games. He played 66 last season. Is he worth the big money extension? The better question, Patriot Eagle Freedom says, does he want to sign an extension?
Yes.
Bum, bum, bum.
He wants to sign an extension. It may not be with the Jazz, but he wants to sign one.
Go on, take the money and run. Sing it. Bill says, most of those weren't real injuries. So if I were him, I would have real questions on what direction the organization was going before signing an extension. If the Jazz want to win, I would sign him. Worth the risk, whatever you think the risk is. They need more good players. Can't let a good player get away. Does the fan base overvalue him? Probably. Most fan bases overvalue players. It's kind of how sports works. We love our guys. How much can someone be overvalued before it's no longer worth it? See what I'm getting at here, PK?
That's pretty deep.
It's not that deep.
I don't know
because
that I
you
can
agree.
answer
Don't
that.
you agree? Most fan bases overvalue their players. I mean, pick whatever sport, college, pro, baseball, football, basketball. I don't care.
I think they fall in love with their players.
Right, which leads to overvaluing.
It can lead to overvalue.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't necessarily know that they think they're the greatest, this or that. The best tend to be overvalued in terms of where they belong on the pecking order, whether it's all-time, if you should have a player that's capable of being considered all-time. For instance, the statues, they're capable of considered all-time. Where do they fit in the pecking order all-time, right? But you're not going to take a player like a Joe Ingles and say, where does he belong in the all-time list, right? No one's going to say that. But he was such an integral part of the team that you're going to overvalue him in terms of you're going to look for all these other things besides the passes and the points. You're going to look at the stuff that he brings, the way that he brings people together. So you're going to overvalue him potentially in stuff that you can't literally quantify with a statistic. And I think that's what they do. It's hard to overvalue what the statues brought to the team, right? Because they brought everything. The team, there was no team without those guys. But then you might overvalue them in their legacy of where they belong. So you have different forms of overvaluing depending on who the player is. And maybe with Markkanen, you might think that. But I don't think he's been here long enough and done enough to have any form of overvaluing him.
Jazz account at Utah Jazz Guy 1, as long as it still gives the Jazz enough cap space to sign a first option. He's a very good second option with Sexton as the third option.
I don't know that you're going to be able to get a first option through anywhere except development.
In which case,
bona fide first option.
In which case, by the time you've got to pay the first option, like he's the first option, whatever deal you're going to sign Markkanen to this summer will be over by then.
Potentially. I understand what you're saying. Yeah.
Because you'll have that player on a rookie deal, I assume. Maybe you trade for someone who's young, who's a couple years in.
That's what I was going to get at. Yes, that qualifier.
Someone who's going to
an SGA.
Yeah, someone who's going to quote unquote blow up, but maybe people don't realize it right at the time.
And he's blown up.
I
think SGA is the perfect example.
And he was always viewed as someone, this guy could really be pretty good, but
potentially
he's exceeded what most people's expectations were for him. Maybe there's maybe there's a few people out there like, no, I always knew he could do this, but mostly I think those people are full of it.
I would agree with that. But don't be running a break before I get a chance to light you up.
What do you got? Because we're getting late here. We got to go. Steve Cleveland's coming in.
I know. You've cracked on Juan Soto here multiple times. He only had 35 home runs, which was a career high last year. He only had 109 RBIs, which was one off his career high. And he had a league-leading 132 walks. He had a phenomenal season last year, and he only played in every single game. Dude, you would have won 120 games if you had 8 other players do what he did.
Well, number one, we didn't. So, yes, and I can crack on some of those other
Feel free to. But do not crack on Juan Soto because he was awesome last year.
His slugging percentage is 250 points higher right now. And I know it's 4 games, so all those numbers are out of whack.
That's nothing to do with what he did last year.
And that was not his career. He's already had 3 years in Washington better than the slugging percentage he had last year.
Every team would take what he provided last year. Do not die on this hill. Those are Hall of Fame numbers. Yeah. Go look at Reggie Jackson, who was in the Hall of Fame, and compare any season that he had to what Juan Soto did last year.
Different era, and you know it. Stop with the Reggie Jackson.
Go pick somebody from last year then. You picked a player.
I'm picking Juan Soto versus himself. He had 3 better years with the Nationals than he had in San Diego.
He did not.
He did too.
He did not.
The numbers are friggin' obvious. They're right there. He had a 695 slugging. He was 21 years old. Slugging was 695. Last year it was 519. BK,
those are awesome numbers. You will only have one career. You will only have, but whatever
he had
number.
A 548. He had a 534.
You're picking and choosing. You look at the numbers in its entirety. Right. That doesn't mean last year wasn't better. Wasn't a great season.
He's going to top it with the Yankees.
If he did that every year, he would be a first ballot Hall of Famer.
Well, he is going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer. That's the whole point of getting excited about having Juan Soto. Is when he came to town, everybody thought this guy's going to be a Hall of Famer, and he's going to be a Hall of Famer. But, he didn't have his best years in San Diego. He didn't have his second best year in San Diego. He didn't have his third best year. And I just know at 25, he's going to New York.
Percentage.
He's going to New York. Oh, my gosh. He's
based
going
on
to New York and he's going to blow up. Okay, you want to go?
You're picking one stat, and that's how you're determining it.
I'll go OPS. He had it better when he was 21 in Washington and when he was 20 and 22. Those 3 years in Washington, his second, third, and fourth years in the bigs were better than what he did in San Diego.
You're complaining about a guy who had 35 home runs, 109 RBIs, led the league in walks, and played in 162 games.
I agree.
You're complaining about that.
He's going to do better.
Have never
I said he's going to do better in New York.
You said he had a disappointing season. Go back. I went back and listened to what you just said.
Yes.
You said he had a disappointing season last year. You've never sounded more illiterate about baseball than you are right now.
That's not true, number one. And number two, disappointing versus expectations. He's had better seasons. He's a Hall of Famer.
Put down the shovel.
When we come back, Steve Cleveland talking Final Four next.